Hey, what's going on, YouTube? You guys bought the property, just did the closing. You're sitting there after the closing, you and your team, and you're like amazed. You're happy. You're very, very, very happy. Now what? That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to tell you exactly what you guys should be doing because it's a big deal that you guys get everything taken care of because it's important for knowing exactly what's what. So Mm, let me share the screen. Oh, let me stop share screen. That was the wrong screen. That was this one. Wow, that's a lot of Larry's. I don't even know if you guys need that. That was awesome though. I mean, for real. Happy that you guys saw that. So let me share the screen. There we go. All right. There's only one Larry now. That 50 Larrys, that kind of scared me a little bit because I can't even imagine how productive I would be if I had 50 Larrys running around helping me do this stuff. I would be less tired. There was a movie back in the day called Multiplicity. That was an excellent movie. I don't know if you guys remember it. It had Michael Keaton in it, but that was just an awesome movie. So can everybody hear me? I'm hoping that everybody can hear me. I'm uh I'm looking at seeing what's going on and checking everybody out. Yeah, I think let me just check and see if
Yeah, I think.
okay. Yeah, I put the live on this time so I can check it on my phone just to be sure everybody can hear me. So, how's everybody doing tonight? So you guys got the property under contract. You got outside your comfort zone, which hey, I'm proud of you guys for doing that. That's amazing stuff. Every time you guys do a property and get it under contract and get going on it, I just you need to take a minute and celebrate because that's a huge victory, and that's something that uh, you're beating everybody else that didn't do what you're doing. So kudos to you guys. I've got a closing coming up on Friday that I'm really really looking forward to, and it's going to be an amazing thing. So I just hope you guys are all enjoying your series because it's important to celebrate those. So I'm kind of talking a little bit here because I want to give everybody a chance to jump in here and watch the live because we're going to be giving some good information. You think that the hard job is over. You went and you did your calls, you toured your properties, you did everything that you were supposed to, just the way I asked you to do it. And I appreciate that fact. That's amazing stuff that you were able to get that done and find the property that you underwrote and you figured out that you're going to make money at it and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, now the hard work's all done, so we get to sit back and enjoy ourselves." I hate to tell you this. I don't want to break the news to you, but I'm going to have to. That was just the beginning. That was the preview of the hard stuff. The hard stuff is taking a property that you got from mom and pops, stabilizing it, and my hair's a little messed up. Stabilizing the property and making as much money for your family and for generational wealth as you possibly can, because that's where it's at. That's what you're doing this whole thing for. You're looking to make money, and making money is a good thing. Making money is a very good thing, and you just that's what we're all here for. You're not doing this because just for the love of real estate, which I kind of do now at this point, but there's still a huge payday involved. So that's what all this stuff is for. So just listen to this, and I would save it, like it, and share it, get it out there because a lot of people are going to need to know what is coming up because we've got this PowerPoint presentation that my man Sonny did, and he's an excellent person. So to do this stuff for me, and one of the things that you guys need to realize is that day one is one of the most crucial days in the life of a rental property because that's where you separate the operators from the pretenders, and you got a bunch of stuff that you really need to do before you get to that point. So, and it's all prior preparation. You have to get prior preparation ready. New leases. You have to have a welcome letter telling people that you're the new owner, and they know. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. The previous owner let them know, and tenants talk. Tenants are paying attention, and that day one is basically I call it similar. It's the crucible, if you will. That's the test for new operators of a property. So the tenants are all sitting back and they're looking at what's going to happen when you take over. And that is going to set the tone for your entire ownership of this property. Because if you don't show up, they figure you don't care. They figure they can get away with late rent. They figure they can do this, they can do that. It's just a bad situation. I'm giving you some advice now on how to handle day one, because you have to establish yourself as a seasoned operator, a professional who's not doing this for fun. This is your business, and they need to know that you'll take care of them, but you mean business. When you take over this property, you have to show up ready to establish the not necessarily dominance, but your authority over the property, because tenants are gonna get away with as much as you'll allow them to get away with. That's just the nature of the beast. So you have to make sure that you establish that these are the criteria for you living in my property, and this is what I want to make sure that I continue to go basically do what you got to do. And they need to know that you mean business when you get there. So all right, so let's get into this. I think we're in good shape for everybody. I think as many people are coming as are going to be here, but we'll find out. We'll find out. So basically, so now what do? First 24 hours after owning a multifamily property is crucial. So you have to make sure that you get over there. Okay. You got to show up. People are not expecting you to show up. They're kind of hoping that you won't show up, honestly, because they like tenants or landlords that don't care. They really do. I mean, to a certain extent, you got to care about. They want their maintenance done and things like that. But when it comes to holding them to the rules of the property, they hope that you're just gonna ignore them and let them go on about their business and do whatever they want, because that's what the previous owner may have been doing if you're targeting your clientele correctly, because you got to do you're looking for mom and pop owners, and that's what they do. They just basically ignore the property. So, and you have to go in. The first thing you do, you show up. Okay. The goal is not perfection. Okay. You're not trying to do a perfect, you're not trying to make a perfect property. You're not trying to do this. Your goal is stability. Okay. You need to establish the fact that you are an excellent operator. You're a caring landlord. You do what you're supposed to do, and you do the right thing for tenants, for your operations, and for cash flow. You have to get in there and you have to let the tenants know, yes, change sucks. Okay. People hate change. It's just that's how people are. We just don't like change. We like the same old, same old. That goes back to getting out of the comfort zone. That goes to having a new landlord. They're trying to feel you out as much as you're trying to feel them out. You need to know what kind of tenants they are. You need to know basically everything, because let's be honest, when you did your due diligence for the property, the you bought the paper. Okay, you bought the fantasy, you bought the story that was being told by the numbers, by the previous owner. They can frame this story any way they want to. You hope that they're being 100% honest and everything, but you buy the story and then you go and vet the story. You trust but verify. When you get done with that closing, you head right to the property and you make sure that it is what it is. Cause like I'm gonna establish that I want to go in for a final walkthrough probably Wednesday or Thursday before the closing, because I need to see make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Um, so you're buying the story and you got to go in and verify it. You look for the truth. The truth is what's going to set it apart from fantasy, and reality can be a harsh learning curve for a lot of people, especially if they're used to just getting away with getting away with whatever they want to do. I have a feeling like one of the properties that we're currently buying, we're going to have a problem with one of the tenants, and it's going to be not pleasant to deal with, but it's something that has to happen because the activity, the way it's been going on, just isn't working. So just know that it's a rough thing. So the closing, like we're looking on the PowerPoint, it's about protecting the asset and your cash flow and the tenants, and it's about controlling the asset, controlling the data, and controlling the money. One of the big things you want to do is you need to get in there and you need to tell them exactly where the rent's going, because if you don't establish where you want that rent sent, they could be continuing to send the rent to the previous owner. And you've got ramifications if the previous owner gets the rent. They should be able to turn it over to you, but it's just I wouldn't trust it. So the first one is controlling the asset. You have to have physical control over the asset. You have to have every key. You have to have every fob, every code. You have to know every gate password. You have to know all the mailboxes, the mechanical rooms, the storage rooms, the laundry. You have to have access to the basements, to the utilities. You need to make sure and verify when you go to closing, they're going to hand you a big key ring or however it's set up. Operators have one master key that opens all the doors. Every apartment has a different key, but they have one master key that opens all of them. And honestly, that's probably the best way to go because it makes it easier. Than I have one key on my key ring, and I don't have to deal with. You ever see? I've gone to places where we've looked at 35, 40 apartments, and they pull out this giant key ring that looks like a 18-wheeler tire, and they've got 500 keys on it, and you're just like, what is that? What is that monstrosity? So you have to make sure that you have access to the entire building, because if something is missing, you have to get on that, because you don't want. The worst thing in the world is to have a leak or have a problem where somebody's electric breaker trips or somebody loses water and you have no access to get to the utilities. You have no idea how to get in there. So I always on day one, as soon as I'm done with the closing, drive right there. Go right there from the closing, do a walkthrough. Just walk around the property, make sure everything's still the same way. Knock on the door. You would be surprised that a lot of the owners, they don't even go knock on the door. Before I lived where I live in Penn Yan, I actually lived in a property up in Bloomfield, which was a property, and I literally was a tenant of this new owner for 3 weeks before I even realized that there was a new owner, because I had already put my notice in to leave and move here the previous month, and the previous owner never told the current owner. The current owner never showed up, knocked on my door, and I didn't know until I was getting ready to move out. So they felt some kind of way about that because they said I didn't give notice, and I kept all of the text messages and the emails back and forth giving them notice that I was leaving. So they wanted to charge me for it was a nightmare. And the owner of that new property just isn't a good operator, because at no point did I see them. They should knock on the door. There were 72 apartments. It would have taken them a day. Knock on the door, send a letter, do whatever. Just, put eyes on people, talk to them, get to know their names. That's important. A knock on my door goes a long way, just to show that you care. Um, and then I go through and take a video and a timestamp photo of everything. So I go in with my phone, I got my GoPro camera here. I'll probably share this with you guys too on YouTube. But I go in and I always record the everything. I go through and I look at everything and I say, this is day one. This is for our takeover. Giovanni's and my takeover of this property is going to be July 31st. Drive there, walk through, record everything. Just say this needs to be repaired, because you're not only assessing the tenants and their needs, but you're also assessing the property, making sure that you have an accurate list of safety issues. Are handrails and stair rails good? Are the lighting? Is there exposed wires? Are there broken doors? Is there something that's going to hurt somebody that needs to be addressed immediately? Day one, you need to make sure that gets addressed as soon as that. So you're controlling the asset, you're controlling the data, and you're controlling the money. You got to make sure you tell them exactly where they're going. So day one means is basically the goal is stability and perfection. I'm writing all this down, but I've got it so down cold that I'm jumping ahead on the PowerPoint presentation. So I apologize. But I'm protecting the residency operations and the cash flow, which is what I just talked about. You got your timestamp photo of and video of the property. That's to protect the tenants and their safety. You have to know that the tenants are in a good place. And you kind of want to make sure that you have an accurate idea of what is needed to take place so you can protect your asset because you just spent a lot of money on this property, a lot of money generally. You've got a debt now, you've got a mortgage, you put a big down payment, so you have to show up, you have to be an on the scene present landlord because that's what is going to make the money for you, and it's going to show that the tenants that you care, and it's going to show them that you're not to really be trifled with. Like these are the rules, and I expect you to live by the rules, and that's my cash flowing thing. I mean, and I'm not talking about going in there and being a tyrant or anything. I'm just you've got your lease, and the terms of your lease are not over imposing. They are what they are, and you have your lease already pre-written, and take care of it because that's what they need to know. Okay. So you got to control the asset. So we're collecting all the keys, collecting the access codes and everything. I just talked about that. We've got a garage in the 9 unit that we're looking at, and one of the tenants is actually taking over control of this garage with some storage facilities in there and no extra money in the rent. So I'm going to need to basically get control of that whole area back from this tenant and then offer up the storage facilities. That's part of our day one plan is we're going to be addressing some of the things that we noticed and we caught on the walkthroughs that were not done to where I would have done them. And since the property is mine now and Giovanni's now, we want to do things the way we are used to doing things, and that's the right way. And that is one of the things that we have to address. And it's not that the other way was wrong; it was just different from mine. And that's something that is a big deal for me. I have to make sure that I have systems in place for a reason because as busy as I am and as busy as everybody around me is, you have to have systems in place in order to properly run the company. And that's one of the things that you guys have to keep an eye on is just your profitability. And if without systems, your profitability disappears very quickly. So keep that in mind. That's huge. Next thing is you got to control the money. Like you're in this for cash, okay? So you have to make sure that the tenants know exactly what you're expecting, where to send their rent to, how to pay their rent, how much rent is due, and you go based on the rent estoppels that the people filled out before your closing. So you're going based on the paper that you paid for. So you paid for the paper, and one of the things that you got to do is you have to verify and make sure that you track everything. So these people need to send you the payment because the current owner, like ours is we're given $100,000 down. Our current owner of the property is expecting that first payment. I'm guessing the first week of September. We take over July 31st, and we got to pay the first monthly payment in September. And that's at least that's how it should be set up. So we have to collect rent. Uh, so you have to confirm with the tenants where the rent is being paid. Portal, lockbox, mailing addresses. So there's no confusion. Do you have a bank account locally that they can go in and deposit the money for right into your bank account? I bought a couple of properties. I think you've seen them. Charlie was on one of the earlier ones. I bought a property from Charlie and I transfer the money to him, and he's got a specific amount that that gets transferred monthly, and then he sees that amount and knows that it's from me for that property. And that's a good way to do it. So if you have, say you have 500 people that are Yeah, or not 500, but say you got 10 people in an apartment. We got 9 units, so we got 9 units. And say they all pay $1,000 a month in rent. You can actually do 1,001 cent, 1,002 cents, 1,003 cents, 1,004 cents, and then when 1,001 cent hits, that's apartment one, apartment two, apartment three, apartment four. That's just what I do, and that's how I use it. Because that way, if they're depositing the money directly, say you get $1,000.09, apartment nine paid their rent. $1,000.08, and I mean, sounds like a pain in the butt, but if they want the ease of just dropping it off at the bank, then they have to come up with the 8 cents that's going to tell me who it is, so they get proper credit for the $1,000. Um, and you have to verify the operating accounts. You have to verify if there's any reserves. Generally, when you're doing so, that's more on larger properties, but I wanted it covered here on like the 9 units. So you got to verify any operating accounts, any reserves that are funded, funds accessible, and things. Generally speaking, when you go to a closing, say they have a security deposit account that they keep the security deposits, rather than taking that money out and transferring the security deposits to you, what they do is they issue you a credit at closing. So they subtract that off of the down payment money that we have to give. So say they have $1,000 security deposit and I owe $10,000 for a down payment. I only owe $9,000 now because that $1,000, I have to take that $1,000 out of my down payment, put it in my own security deposit account, and have that set for that tenant. And that's how it's worked. They don't actually transfer the money, take it out and walk the money over to you. They actually just give you a credit at closing, and you take that money and put it in your own security deposit account. And that's how that works. Which I mean, that makes it nice because you don't. Could you imagine having to close out 11, 9, or 10 different accounts? That just seems overbearing. So um, and then basically you get a list of all the tenants. So you get the tenant ledger if it's a bigger property, but 9 units, we got the tenant names, and then check for the delinquency list. And we've actually gotten confirmation from the owner and the tenants that they're all paid on time. And they swore to it. So you hope that they're being completely honest with you on that aspect of it. And you'll find out very quickly because we're closing on July 31st and the next day the rent's due, which I like that because here's my money. Next day I show up, where's my money? I get, I get my money back, nine or $10,000 of it, or however much the monthly rent is. So we actually are gonna, collect that money and then make a payment to the current owner for August rent or September's rent or September's house payment because I'm not going to be close on the 31st and have my first payment due the next day. That's just not acceptable in transactions. And I've actually had a situation where we're negotiating right now with a 28 property portfolio that we're looking at, and I'm trying to get it to the point where there's a grace period because when you take over something like this, a lot of the properties are vacant. You need time to stabilize this, get tenants in there. So Giovanni and I are actually negotiating for grace period. We're trying to get a year, but it looks like it's going to end up being 6 to 8 months. But I mean, 6 to 8 months that I don't have to make a payment on this property, so I can take all of my cash flow and all of my cash reserves and put it towards getting tenants in there so they can start paying. And it's a bigger process with the bigger the portfolio. But as I've always said, the size of the problems that you know how to solve is directly proportionate to the size of your income. So if you know how to solve big problems, you're going to make big income. You're going to make bank big time. So just remember that. Don't shy away from big problems. Figure out how to solve them, and then once you get that under your belt, you know that that's in your tool belt. You can move on and continue to solve big problems. So, all right, let's see where we're at. Forgot my water. Uh, okay. So, one of the things that you do at this point is you have to decide. You should have already decided, quite honestly, if you're going to use property management or not, or if you're going to do your own management. And if you're going to do property management, then you definitely want to have the property manager meet you at the property on day one at the closing. because you have to introduce the property manager to the people, and the property manager and you should have already met and determined the systems that they use, so you know exactly what's what. Um, and that's important that the property manager gets involved, and you have to make sure that you have a good property manager, because I was actually just talking to somebody that I was introduced to yesterday, who is his got a portfolio that he's looking for, just reaching out to people that are doing what he wants to do, and he's trying to get start his wolf pack as well. And I basically told him he had a bad experience with one of his property managers, and I just told him that property managers, their number one job is to separate your wallet from their money. It's actually your money, but they want it, so it's their money in their minds. And not all property managers are like that, but some of them are, and they'll do every little nitpicky thing to charge you. And I think I've told the story on YouTube here that I had a property manager that would charge $75 to me to go drive over there 2 minutes and change a light bulb. I mean, how hard is it to unscrew a light bulb and screw in a light bulb? Like, you're gonna charge me 75 bucks for that? Okay, no, that was it. Like, that property manager, like, right out. There you go. You don't have to go home. Can't stay here. You're not staying here. That's just not happening. So I started, and this is a tip for you folks out there. I started having them write in the actual lease that they need to put that the property tenants are responsible for changing their own light bulb, because I don't know anybody that doesn't know how to change a light bulb. I mean, you don't have to be super mechanically inclined to change a light bulb. What do? Take the lampshade off and unscrew it and screw it down. I can handle that. So, and then one of the first things that we do, we let people know, we freeze all non-essential spending. Like, we go in and we find out what expenses are, what services are being used. Do you have somebody mowing the lawn? Who do you have doing the snow plowing? Who does all the maintenance work? Who does this? Who does that? Is there a pest control situation where they come in and they take care of, like, the bait boxes around the outside of the building, so mice don't get in, or ant control, or whatever. You gotta know all these expenses beforehand, because that should have been done in your underwriting. But anything non-essential, I freeze it immediately. I'm like, non-essential spending is we're done right now. We're not going to spend any excess money until I get in here and assess the situation. And I don't need all of our rent evaporating before I find out where it's going, before I figure out where it's going. Because generally speaking, when you buy from a mom and pop, you're walking into a situation that you have no idea what the hell is going on over there. Like, you have no idea it could be a free for all you know. Tenants not paying, and I say it, for all you know, but it's an accurate statement, because you bought their word. You took their word for what they said, and you did your due diligence to the best you could. But at the end of the day, you still have to trust that what they told you is accurate. And then when you get there, you find out one way or the other whether what they told you is accurate. So that's what I do. I freeze all non-essential spending. We're dealing with cash flow control now, so it does nobody any good, tenants included, if our outgoing cash is a lot more than our incoming cash, because and that's what happens with rent control. You can't raise the rent to cover the expenses that keep going up. And if my rent has to stay here, and the rent and the expenses are up here, and they keep going up, you see there's a disconnect there. You can't keep ignoring the fact that the rent's locked in and the expenses keep going up, because then you have to skimp on maintenance, and that's how people get reputations as being the slumlord. So I cap that. I'm like, no more incidental spending. We got to make sure that we're not doing any of that stuff, because um we're gonna be basically sitting here, and we're going to assess the situation. At this point, we just jumped into the deep end of the pool. That's in essence, when you buy a property, that's what it feels like sometimes. You show up and you're like, I just dove into the deep end of the pool. I'm head down, going to the bottom of the pool. let's flip it around, let's figure out what's going on, and then let's try and resurface and tread some water because that's what we're here. So and then you also have to control the data. One of the big things that you got coming up is controlling the data. You have to control the rent roll, the leases, the tenant ledger, security deposit. You have to keep a ledger of the security deposits. You have to know what vendors are contracted. Like I was just saying, you have to know who is doing what. Who's cutting your grass? I mean, something as simple as do we have a long-term contract for cutting grass? And if we do have a long-term contract for cutting grass, is it a good price contract or is it like $10,000 per lawn cut? So you have to reevaluate everything. And now is the time to do it because you can renegotiate any contract when you first take over a property. I mean, you can renegotiate contracts just in general whenever you get the urge to renegotiate contracts, but for the most part, you have to assess what's going on. You have to find out what warranties you have. Was the roof recently done? What's the warranty left on the roof? Do you have new windows? Did you just put in a new electric service? How long do we have for the warranty? You have to assess who pays the water bill. I mean, something as simple as the water bill. You have to know, is that something that the previous tenant or previous landlord paid, or is that something that the tenants pay? The electric bills. Do you have apartments that are utilities included? Who and you have to find out who actually supplies the utilities because you don't know. Like I live in Penn Yan and our properties in Scottsville, which is 2 hours away, and I guarantee you they're a different electric company than I have NICEAG, and I think they're probably RG&E, but I haven't verified that yet. So RG&E, National Fuel, National Grid, whatever. You have to make sure you know exactly who's providing utilities because you have to let the tenants know before they move in. Any new tenants, you have to send them a letter saying, "Welcome to the building. This is who your electric, this is who your cable, this is who your internet's through, this is who everybody's through." And you have to go in and you have to find that out on day one. And you have to put that into your ledger. You have to keep track of all this. The Basically day one is all about organizing your business, organizing this property and absorbing it into your systems. That's basically what day one is. You have to get it into your systems because you have systems all set up. The only reason you're at a point now where you can buy this many properties or a property in general is because you have systems in place that you're able to assimilate this property into your systems. So that's basically what day one is. That's when you start the process, but you got to show up and you got to let the tenants know that you're going to be a present landlord and you're not expecting them to not deal with the terms of the lease. That's important. So you have to confirm access to the apartment too. You have to properties. You have to know who's got the keys, who's got the master key, who has access to this property. And a lot of times I'll want to go in and I'll want to change the locks and just switch all the locks. So, because you never know when you take over a property who has access to all these apartments. And you don't want to be sitting there and leave the keys the same keying and have a previous person that was associated with the other property management company or the other owner to go in and wreak havoc in an apartment or cause problems for you later on because that's a liability issue. You have to keep your system permissions secure. So if you have like security codes or you have security cameras or you have security, you have to secure the passwords for that and you have to change the passwords because you cannot have the previous owner still being able to access sensitive information from your property, which is you know gate codes and things like that. So you just go in and you switch everything over so it's all your numbers, it's all your under your control. And then once you do that, then you're a little bit safer and you've minimized your liability as far as that goes. Because if you don't do that, then you're leaving yourself open to some liability there. And and you have to build a unit by unit list. And the status list is you have to go in unit one. This is the status of unit one. It's rented by these people, but there are some things that would need to be fixed. This tenant has these I don't know, like say they collect bicycles and the bicycles are all out on the front porch and they're not organized and they look terrible. I'm big on the outside of a building. I want the outside of my building to look nice, look squared away, have nice landscaping. I want it to when you show up to one of my buildings, I want you to say, I'm home. This is someplace that I would not have a problem living. That's what I try and do. Obviously, there's a little bit of a disconnect. Like I'm not going to put granite countertop. I like granite countertop, but I'm not putting granite countertop in a class B, class C house that you use, and that just determines the amount of money you can charge for a property. So class A, you can charge the most amount of rent for because it's like a luxury apartment. I would put granite countertop in a luxury apartment, but you're also charging 3 grand, 3,500 a month for granite countertops. So you have to know your market and what the current rents are and that sort of thing. So um, and then you basically you have to give notice that it's vacant. You have to do write down renovations if you need renovations. If somebody's moving out, hopefully if somebody gave notice like I did to the previous owner of the property I lived in Bloomfield, um, hopefully the current owner gives you all that information because it's pertinent to know if somebody already gave you information that they were moving out the day you take over and you don't get told that could be a real problem for you and them because that's not being completely upfront with the new owners. That's a little bit not I don't want to say shady, but it's something that could be considered shady, and you have to keep track of that. And make a punch list, if you will, of things that you need to get fixed, and then get your maintenance crew over there and start fixing. And that's part of the stabilization process. You have to assess the rents. Is the rents? You should have a plan for this beforehand. Like I know our rents are below market value, so day one we're going to be talking to the people, and then we're going to be assessing how New York has very specific regulations on how you can raise rent, and you can only raise it so much, and that sort of thing. But within the law, we're going to be able to raise the rents up to get them back to market rents, hopefully fairly quickly. Because once you get the rent back up to market value, you take the net operating income, and that increases the net operating income. And coincidentally, with using the cap rate, you force appreciation. So now by us adding money onto the bottom line, we've actually increased the value of the property. And that's what's going to happen with Scottsville Road. We're going to be able to increase the value of the property by increasing the net operating income. So that's huge. So the next thing you want to control is the communication. You have to control the communication between the residents and each other and the residents and your team because if you don't have two-way communication, that can be a very bad thing because you don't know what's going on at the property if you're not there and you don't have communication. So you have to have tenants that care enough about where they live to let you know if there's a problem in the apartment, if they need repairs done. You have to find out when the trash pickup is, and you have to communicate this stuff with them. You have to, I usually have a tendency to, like with HVAC, you want to get repair records and take care of that and see if and when the last time it was serviced and that sort of thing is. So I'm going to have my expert HVAC person go in and just look at the furnaces just to make sure, just get a feel for where we're at with that. Because, like I said, we always do our maintenance on furnaces and right before Christmas and during the week. Because for some reason, and I don't know why, and the longer you're in real estate, you're going to find out that this is true. All the mechanicals fail on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. Like the worst possible time that it could happen when nobody wants to come out to fix it, and if they do, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg because it's going to be super, super expensive. And if you show up and fix it beforehand, theoretically speaking, then it should make it through Christmas and New Year's. So by doing a little preventative maintenance before Christmas, New Year's, you can avoid that Christmas Eve phone call. Hey, my furnace isn't working, and it's 10 degrees in my apartment. That's not good because then you're talking about potential for frozen pipes. You're talking about uncomfortable tenants who are unhappy that they're sitting there freezing on Christmas Eve when they should be enjoying hot cocoa and opening Christmas gifts or Hanukkah gifts or whatever their holiday is. So that's what I do. I communicate with the tenants very quickly, very calmly, let them know this is how you get a hold of me. This is how you establish it. I'm looking into implementing, like, there's a bunch of different apps, and a couple of the apps, you can grow with the app. So you can start off with a smaller portfolio, like a 9 unit, and then grow up. So this is, I think, going to be our first app property, and then I'll use it on the rest of them when I see how it goes on this new one. So, and basically, I always print up a welcome letter telling them who we are, Arctic Wolf Enterprises. We own the building now. Oh, we had to do an LLC, so Arctic Wolf Enterprises is our CRM and our other business, but it's GL Enterprises New York, and that is Giovanni and Larry, and that's our company for buying rental properties. So, and you send them a message, tell them who we are, what our experience is, how to pay rent, how to request maintenance, if there's an app, and who to call in an emergency. And then you have to get their email addresses. So if you have an app, you have to send them a sign up form for the online app, and then they'll go in themselves and they'll put in their information, and then you get a notification through the app that they have signed up, and then you can start billing them automatically, and then they can go in and pay it. So hopefully, theoretically speaking, the app is supposed to make it easier for you to collect rent and to manage your property, and I'm hoping that's the case, because doing it the old-fashioned way with a notebook like I got right here, my composite notebook, isn't the most efficient way, but that's right there how I do estimates for construction jobs and things like that. So I'm old school that way. I can't get out of that. So that's how I do the underwriting, and it just works for me. So it's worked for 38 years, and I'm not planning on changing it, but I am looking at the app, and we'll have to keep track of what app we end up going with and going from there. So um and then yeah, well, yeah, I call all of my critical vendors just to make sure that they understand, you know, and you also, on the way from the closing to on the way to the closing, I always call my insurance agent and make sure that I have insurance on it, the fire insurance. So they get that taken care of right away. So I've got insurance on the property from day one. So that's another biggie that you need to make sure you have in place. I've got a list, but I did miss that one when I was typing this up. Um so you confirm the on-call maintenance, and then you just tell them what day trash is. I mean, it's information that is simple as, hey, make sure your trash is out at the curb on Tuesday, or we've got a dumpster that you have to have your trash in there because they come and get it every Wednesday. It's just it's something that you really need to have. So is everybody still with me? I've been throwing a lot of information at you, and I hope everybody's hanging tight with me, because I'm this is all good information, but it can be dry at times, but it's necessary that you get this right, because this could set you up for success or failure. Oh, I just looked at, hey Gio, what's up, man? There's my partner jumping in on that conversation. So just letting them know how we're going to work things on Friday. So that's key to it right there, is we're getting all the basics down so you guys can reference them. Once all the basics are done and I get them all on video, um, and you guys can reference them, the basics don't generally change. So you get the basics down, and you'd have maybe 100 videos on here, and then I run out of stuff to talk about because I've already covered it. And then that's when the fun happens, because then we're going to start taking you out. We're going to show you exactly where all of our properties are. And I'm kind of super pumped about the 28 properties that Geo and I are going to be purchasing, because once we get those 28 properties, we're going to go out and we're going to be like, we own that one, and we own that one, and we own that one. That was Geo's the idea the other day. He told me, he's like, I got a great idea. We're going to go show everybody what the properties are, and I'm on board with that. probably going to take his new Mustang that he got because of real estate. That's amazing. So, let's see. All right, let me switch this. First 72 hours. It's those are big. So, you got 3 days, and it's one of those things that the first 3 days can make or break a company every time, because how you do the small stuff, I heard this a long time ago. How you do the smallest things is how you do everything. So even the most minute detail, you got to cover it. You got to be on point with everything, because you need to make sure that tenants know that you're present and that you're not gonna be a pushover landlord. You're not gonna be absentee landlord, because absentee landlords go bankrupt very quickly. And that's not something that you can afford to do. You're in this to make money. So you have to pay attention. You have to get it done, because you're trying to build generational wealth. And if you figure out and get your systems in place, and you're able to absorb a 9 unit in 72 hours, and you're up and running smoothly, and you get it stabilized fairly quickly, that's a cookie cutter recipe. You can rinse and repeat that as many times until you're a billionaire as you want. And this is setting the foundation for all of that. You can take this and pull it out anytime you get a property, and you can just say, okay, here, let's go back and watch this video. This is what we got to do. This is our action plan right here. So in the next 72 hours, I like to get, and so, over the weekend, this weekend, I do unit inspections, and I do, if I can't finish them that day, I start with all the vacant units, and then I start listing the units. I've verified that the units are ready to rent. And if they're not, then I call my construction foreman. I've got two construction foremen, Patrick and Peter, and those guys are going to be looking into what exactly is needed for the vacant land units, and then they go in and they take care of it, and then they submit their bill to me, and I pay them. And you have a clean delinquency plan, respectful but firm. That's one thing. I mean, respectful, but they have to know you're not joking around. Don't mistake my kindness for weakness. That's one of the things that you guys have to realize, that a lot of people mistake your kindness for weakness. So I generally tell people, I have people asking me all the time if they can have a free month of rent. And I tell them, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'll make a deal with you. I'm going to give you my mortgage company, and I'm going to give you their telephone number. You call them. And if you talk them into giving me a free month of mortgage payments, then I'll give you a free rent. And as soon as they realize they got to deal with the bank, and the bank's not going to give me a free month of mortgage, they're going to be like, no, I want my money. Let's do this. And they know they're not going to get free rent at that point. So, and then you audit utilities and insurances. So that was what I was talking about. You make sure that you've got all your insurances in place. You make sure that any utilities that you're supposed to pay for, that you have put in your name. And one of the things that I like to do, and NICEAG is terrible about this, because I sold a property once, and I'm still getting bills that somebody moved out and they want to try and put it in my name. So you set up with the utilities that if somebody moves out of a property, that the utilities don't get turned off, especially in January. Because if a person moves out of the property, you have to go to talk to the NICEAG or RG&E or whoever, and you say, listen, if somebody has their electric turned off, then that automatically gets put into my name and left on, because you can't have Matt Murphy. Things are going good, my friend. Let's see. Oh, good day, folks. Diana. Oh, I'm loving all this. A lot of people joining our live. That's amazing. I'm appreciative of that. So, one of the things that happens, if somebody turns off the electric in January and moves out, and you don't know about it, and the electric gets turned off, and your water does not get turned off, trust me, I just finished a remodel in Buffalo for my daughter, where a situation happened like that, and it just ended up badly, because the water ran through the house and basically destroyed the house. So pipes burst, and then water damage is something that you don't want, because mold grows and you got mold remediation happening. And so that's, you audit the utilities and make sure that the utilities are good. So, and then you assess the curb appeal. Okay. That's one of the things that I like to do, because like I told you, and I make sure I specifically put this on this PowerPoint and on my list, because Curb appeal is huge. It promotes pride of ownership, and when people drive by one of Arctic Wolf's Enterprises properties or GL Enterprises properties, they're going to see that we care about our property. We're not doing this. We're not slumlords. They're going to call us slumlords. And they're going to call you slumlords when you first start. I told you this on the last one. When you first start buying rental properties, instantly everybody's going to go to calling you a slumlord, and it's just not the case. So, and you have to focus on stability over major changes right out of the gate because, you know, you have to work tenants up to it because it does you no good to go in and make major changes. I mean, you still got to establish your dominance and your authority, excuse me, not dominance, your authority over the property because you own the property. But going in there and being like, we're going to completely change everything is just it's people don't like change. They'll handle a little bit of change. They'll handle just enough change to until they can't, and then they'll move out. And you don't want to empty the whole building, but by the same token, you don't want to have absolute anarchy in the building either. So you have to do what you got to do to establish that. So I always focus on stability before I make major changes, and then work people up to the changes that you want to implement over time. Over time, and you can't go in on day one and say I'm running everybody's rent up to from 1,000 to 2,500 because that's market rent. You have to work your way there. You have to give them an opportunity to figure out a way to make additional rent payments and things like that. So, and then day one mistakes to avoid. Oh, this is huge. Okay. Uh, the big one I had mentioned is the rent is still going to the seller or the old payment portal because that can be lost in a void that is very difficult to get back. Okay. Once you get back the rent, you could be looking to get the rent over a month. I mean, they got to find the money first. So you need to get there, tell them, here's your welcome letter. I need you to pay me the rent, okay? And if you need me to, I'll be back on the first tomorrow and I'll collect all the rent in person for the first month or two because we need to make sure that we're getting that money because that's our money. We earn the right to collect that money now after the closing. So, failing to reconcile your security deposits and prorations. So it's going to make it nice for us because we're actually closing on the last day of the month. So that's an easy one to do. But if you close on the 15th of the month and that's halfway through the month and they give you a 30% credit, that's wrong. You should be getting a 50% credit. So you have to verify that you're getting all the security deposits and all the proration credits on the closing statement that you should have gotten because that's money left on the table and you don't want to leave any one penny on the table. You want to make sure you get everything that's coming to you and that's due to you because that affects the profitability of your company. Another one, just paying vendors without verifying the terms of the contract. That's not something that you want to do. You want to be like, all right, I have no problem paying the vendor, but I want to see actually in writing where the agreement was made, and then I want to be given an opportunity to renegotiate it because I can save money by going a different route. So that's one of the things you need to do is try and not pay those bills. Just, oh, there's a bill. And a lot of it's funny because I've seen stories where corporations get billed for billions of dollars because they just they get a bill and they send it to their accounting department. The accounting department just cuts the check. Honestly, I think that's part of the problem with the American government, but I'm not going to get into that right now. I just think that they pay bills that should not be paid just based on getting a bill in the mail. So without vetting them. So we're not going to be that way. We run our business. We run a much tighter ship than they do. So you're going to not pay the vendor without confirming the terms. Um, and you don't want to jump into renovating before you verify the condition of the property. Like you can send somebody in to renovate something and then, you're renovating the whole apartment and really all it needed was maybe new carpet or just being updated, being brought into the 21st century. So you don't want to go crazy on the renovating right at the beginning because every dollar you spend is another dollar that isn't able to go to your bottom line and help you with future purchases or whatever. So just make sure that you're verifying any renovations you do that the apartment actually needs it to make it livable. So, and whatever you do, don't stay silent with your residents. You got to get out there and talk to them. Silence creates chaos, and you don't want chaos in your property, because chaos and landlording is just not a good combination. It causes you grief, and it just makes your job 100 times harder if you got chaos going on and complete anarchy. It sucks, and you don't want it. So get out there, talk to the tenants, let them know you're available. You're a good landlord. You're going to take care of them. You expect certain things in return. Okay, that's it's a symbiotic relationship. You guys got to work together to make sure that you're getting what you need, they get what they need, and everybody can live happily ever after with very little drama, hopefully. That's the key. I'm not a drama person, so I try and minimize the drama. All right. So let's see. All right. So these are the slides right there. Protect the cash flow, control the asset, the data, and win in multifamily. So if you guys want the day one checklist, I'll be more than happy to send it to you. All you got to do is comment checklist or comment day one, excuse me, in the comments below, and I will send you the checklist. And we're basically looking to help you with your day one preparations. We want you to buy a property, do the closing. We're going to walk you through a closing on YouTube. We want you to, so facts over fear. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give you the facts so you're not afraid of day one. Day one is not bad. Day one is actually very exciting because you own the new property now. This is your livelihood. So you get the facts ahead of time. So, I just explained to you exactly what day one is. So when you get your first day one, you go in and you just do what we recommended, and it's going to be okay. So you can beat the fear. So facts over fear. And that's what this is all about. Closings, everything that I do is just providing the information, and you use the information to make yourself a smarter investor. And that helps you get outside your comfort zone, because the more you know, the more knowledge you possess, the easier life gets. So I'm a knowledge sponge. I love all of this stuff. So comment day one down below, like this and share it, and comment day one, and I'll send that to you. And you just got to make sure that you guys pay attention to the next live that we do, because I'm going to be doing a live on stabilizing the property, what steps that you have to take and what you need to be cognizant of when you're actually stabilizing it to raise the net operating income and force that appreciation. Because theoretically speaking, after a month or two of stabilization, your property should be worth a lot more than you paid for it. And that's what I want to talk about on the next live on next Tuesday. So and I wanted to show you this. I appreciate everybody jumping in here. These are our websites. These are some of our companies. We have Alpha Wolf University, where you guys can get the online course, and depending on how intricate you want to get, we also offer live coaching and our top tier program. You'll have complete access to me, so I can walk you through everything, and I'll help you get your first rental property. So check out alphawolfuniversity.com, arcticwolfenterprises.com, and alphawolf.construction for our new construction company. And join our Discord, and get out there and participate, because your network is your net worth, and you have to be part of a community, and the community and your wolf pack is important. That's what the strength of the wolf is, the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. So you need to find your home and get with other like-minded individuals. If there are 5 millionaires in a room with you, you're going to be the 6th millionaire. So that's important. So I will get you guys the checklist, and I hope you guys have a blessed evening. And if you have any questions, or were there any questions in the comments that I can answer? Okay, no, everybody seems to be good in the comments. So I'm going to get out of here, because I have to work early tonight, about 5 hours, 4 hours. I'll probably have to be to work. So you guys have a blessed night, and make sure you like this and share it. I'm going to end Facebook first. You guys love Facebook. You guys are all awesome. Love you guys. Enjoy your evening, and we'll talk to you later. All right. Facebook is out. All right. YouTube. I love Facebook. YouTube, you guys are always going to be my favorite because you're the one who kickstarted this whole movement recently. Geo got me into wanting to put it on YouTube, which I appreciate, Geo. I'm going to be in your debt for that forever because this is so much fun, man. Giovanni and I are having a blast with this. So you guys be safe out there, be blessed, like this and share it, and pay attention in our next video. Our next video coming out. We've got some fire lined up. Make sure you're watching for clicking that subscribe button and then hit the little bell a couple times so you never miss another thing. And join our Discord. Our Discord link we're going to put down in the comments here too, so you have that. So you guys have a great night. I love all of you guys. Be safe, be blessed, and keep making that money. Love it.